We've won the last 6 races and a sprint in that period as well. And now George Russell has a lead in the Drivers' Championship approaching 100 points. So I think it's fair to the AI and the rest of the competition if we turn up the difficulty to hard mode. Hi folks, welcome back to AHGP, welcome back to Mercedes. We're gearing up today for the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, and yes, we have turned the difficulty levels up to hard, so things could be about to get interesting here at Mercedes. There you go, you can see it is now all on career difficulty hard with car development and the race execution, especially for the AI. We've seen the AI do some weird things with their strategies, so I'm hoping this sort of cures that. I have tested this out around Monaco and it was kind of underwhelming actually. It didn't become any more difficult to win, although at that point, as you have seen in the Ferrari Charles Leclerc episode, did have the best car, so that helps. Our car though, not necessarily the best. So if we have a look at it, of course we're above average in most areas heading to Zandvoort, which is also the halfway point of the season. But the two things that are crucial around Zandvoort, we're not particularly good at. We're very good at low speed, so actually we'd be very good at Monaco. Medium speed and high speed, only 8th and 9th ranking, but that doesn't mean a huge amount. So our winning run could come to an end today, and honestly, as much as I'm chasing records with George Russell, I'd love to get 10, 11, 12 wins in a row. It does become a little bit less enjoyable to record the videos if I know going in that I'm just going to win. I want that challenge. It needs to be difficult. So I'm absolutely up for that challenge. And in consideration of all of that, we're researching for next season. I don't know what we're going to do with next season yet, whether we'll do a 5th season with Mercedes or we'll switch teams. But we are also designing a new underfloor and another suspension just to get us through to the end of the season. So let's have a look at the championship. As I said, we've got almost 100 points on Charles Leclerc with George Russell in the drivers. Oscar Piastri only 75 points so far. Of course, he didn't finish in Silverstone, but he does have that podium from Spielberg, and hopefully we can get him another podium today, but I think it could be tricky. In the constructors, it's a little bit tighter against Red Bull, so we need to continue developing the car and continue winning in the races. So I'm going to go and get things sorted out through practice. I'll see you in Q3, where we'll be going hopefully for a solid starting position. Based on those numbers we saw earlier, I'm not expecting a pole position. We've had a bit of a disaster in Q1. Oscar Piastri has been eliminated. We were fiddling around with the setup. We ended up actually making it worse after FP3. And then to try and work out what we'd done with the setup, I did 2 runs in the first run, if that makes sense, 2 laps. And I took manual control, and I think the game was kind of bugged out and not done something correctly. Anyway, it's all ended up with Oscar being eliminated in Q1. So a big recovery job to get the Australian into the points even from 17th on Sunday. But George Russell has made it through. I'll make sure he progresses through Q2 and get him into Q3. So, yeah, this is far from ideal for Oscar. George Russell coming to the end of his first flying lap then in Q3. Purple in all sectors so far. He's the first man across the line with a 10.4. That's not really anywhere near fast enough because Leclerc has just... he's just about to start a lap, I think. Unless this... I know it is starting a lap, so we'll see where the Red Bulls end up. What tyres are they on? They're on used tyres compared to us, so we might have an opportunity in the first run, but they'll probably use a fresh set in the final lap and go faster, because that's just the way it's been recently. 2.5 minutes left on the clock, and Charles Leclerc did go fastest with that lap. We saw him starting. The 2 Ferraris have got between Russell and Leclerc. Of course, they're the 2 drivers at the top of the championship, albeit separated by a fairly large amount. Verstappen only 6th with his first lap. So let's see what George Russell can deliver on his final effort. He's going to have some traffic, I think, in the form of possibly Albon. Is he going in the pit lane, hopefully? Yes, he is. And I think that was Sainz that was finishing his lap ahead of us. So this is the lap that needs to count, George, if we want to have a Mercedes in with a chance of winning the Dutch Grand Prix. Sainz got out of the way, but it's not a personal best at all in the first sector. We've got a Red Bull ahead of us. That, I would assume, is Charles Leclerc. He gets out of the way. What's our middle sector like? Not an improvement. So this is absolutely not what we want to see. Checkered flag is out. DRS is open. And can we improve our time? No, we can't. Verstappen, though, has taken the flag and he will start behind us. So it's not a disaster. It's not a disaster. It could have been worse than fourth. It's fourth. It could have been better. But Charles Leclerc will have pole position. Is he on a lap? I don't think he is. I think he's coming into the pit lane. Yeah, so Charles Leclerc has another pole position. Maybe this time, with the difficulty turned up to hard, he can get that victory. We're all set then with our strategies. It's a soft, hard, medium for George Russell, but we're going a bit wacky with Oscar Piastri. We need to do something different to everybody else to get him forward. So we're going to go with a really fast, hard stint early on with the softs. Because he's got loads of soft tyres to use, having not used them in qualifying, we're going to use them in the race. So we're going to go soft, medium, soft, soft, and just go for it. And if there's a safety car in there, we might be able to use the hards and just change our strategy a little bit. But everything going sort of as standard, we're just going to take a bit of a punt on this strategy and see how it goes. It's a bit of a Hail Mary, to be honest. Not really sure what we're going to get from it, but we might get some track position early on, and then we'll come back at some people later in the race too. I've underfueled both cars to try and help us make progress. So let's do a motor race. It's all sunny skies then at the seaside in Holland. We've got 5 red lights. The lights are out. The race is on. George Russell immediately looking racy. That's a Ferrari on hard tyres. That's not smart. That's Lando Norris. And George Russell's going between the 2 Ferraris. Surely not. What a start this would be. He's still between them. This is crazy racing, and George Russell has launched himself from 4th on the grid to 2nd in the race. Fabulous start by the George Meister. And now he's right on Charles Leclerc's tail. Fantastic start. That is exactly what we wanted to see. What we don't want to see, though, is Oscar Piastri actually going backwards. That's far from ideal. What I'm going to get him doing is driving in clean air. And we're going to turn his overtake aggression up. So it's all good at the front. Piastri moves up to 17th. He's got past Sargent, who's actually getting a bit of a slipstream here. Is Piastri going to send it? Remember their Formula 3 rivals back in the day? And that's the Oscar Piastri we wanted to see. Absolutely scything past Théo Pourchaire. I don't think we have the raw pace to match Red Bull. We're just about holding off Pierre Gasly. So I think we certainly need to do something different. Whether we end up doing a 3-stop with George as well, not out of the question. I'm open to it, but let's see. Piastri absolutely on it. He's sending it at basically every opportunity, and I love it. There we go, up to P12, and we'll just stick with this. We've got no battery anymore, but that's fine. We've got DRS, so it's just a sea of cars. And are we going to slip down the inside of the Aston Martin? No. George Russell's losing a position in all of this at the same time. But honestly, if Gasly goes in front, he can just tow us along. I'm happy with that. We've got a red flag. Just out of nowhere, we've got a red flag. I'm not sure what's happened. There's a car off. It's Théo Pourchaire who has crashed. He's done that weird thing where there's a little bit of contact, and then I'm not sure why that is a red flag. That could definitely be covered under safety car or VSC. Really not sure if this helps us. But we can put we can put George on another set of softs actually, and then bring him in just after lap 21, 22. So we could put a fresh set of softs on him and then go for it, and we'll basically do the same with Oscar. Because he was about to come, he was not far away from coming in, so we'll just bring him in maybe around lap 20, and that makes the stint on the mediums a bit easier. So, yeah, 92% on those tyres, so we can really go for it with them. So a bit of an odd red flag, but it might be useful for us. So we'll go again with 5 red lights. Lando Norris has actually dropped behind Max Verstappen, I can see there. 5 red lights. The race is back on. Let's get everything deployed. Let's go for it. Oscar is still on high overtake aggression, I would imagine. Let's see. Time penalty for Porsche for crashing. Russell back up the inside of Gasly. There we go. What's everyone done with tyres? Leclerc's gone to hards. Okay, this has changed everything. Strategically, we might be able to get ourselves in the lead and build some sort of gap and really put the pressure on Red Bull. This red flag might have just handed us a great chance to win the race with George Russell. Russell, can you overtake Charles Leclerc, please? We've done this a few times recently, not this early in the race, usually in the last couple of laps, but Piastri is now in the top 10 and we are flying at Mercedes. We're not going to have long on these tyres, but that was always the plan. So Russell looking to the inside. The tyres are starting to bake a little bit, but if we can get the move done, then it will be absolutely worth it. George Russell with the DRS going side by side with Charles Leclerc and snatching the lead. There we go. George Russell into P1. Lando Norris is very much coming with us and he's actually taken the lead. So we're just going to let him tow us along for now. So as long as we've got DRS, that's fine by me. But he's got significantly better tyres. I think he put on a brand new set. So that's why he is in that position. We could box earlier than what I've set on the strategy for the hards, but as long as George has got DRS, everything will be fine. Leclerc has dropped from first at the restart to 5th because Red Bull have put him on hard tyres. Verstappen also on a set of softs, but that's a set of softs they would have used later on in the race. So they're going to be exposed and we're going to be on mediums to the end once we've used the hards. So we could still be in a very strong position. And Oscar Piastri's just lost a position there to Esteban Ocon, but he is coming into the pit lane. He will drop to the back of the field, but hopefully this is a smooth stop. It is 2.4 seconds, that'll do. And he's now got some clear air to pump in some really quick lap times and do some damage to the guys that were ahead of him, holding him up. So we can undercut here. Let's push with the engine. We'll also just allow him to use the battery there. We'll get the tyres warmed up and hopefully undercut those ahead. George Russell exiting the pit lane. Where's he going to drop out? Hopefully it's in some decent air. It's 15th, but we've got some clear air ahead to do some damage, and also the DRS that we'll get around the laps hopefully will give us that extra lap time boost and allow us to be a bit quicker. And Verstappen has now found himself into the lead. Lando Norris has actually pitted and come out ahead of us. That's interesting. He's gone on to another set of softs. That's intriguing. So this race strategy has just been blown wide open, and maybe we're about to get an experienced true hard strategy, because when I tried it at Monaco, we basically got the same thing over and over again from the AI. Oscar Piastri's attempt at undercuts haven't quite paid off, not at least in respect to Esteban Ocon, who had just passed him as he entered the pit lane, and Ocon rejoins the circuit ahead of him. He's still avoiding high-risk curbs. That would be why his tyres took so long to come up to temperature. I completely forgot about that, and that would have been hurting his pace. So now hopefully the Aussie can crack on and just sort of navigate my ineptitude with the strategy there. George Russell making a real fist of it and getting in amongst Albon and Sainz, and hopefully... Oh, he's been pushed off the circuit and Sainz has crashed. Sainz has crashed all on his own. Here's the overtake. We're going to get to see them sort of touch wheels and go off the circuit. Here we go. No, we're not. We've got a safety car, which doesn't really help. Here's the replay then. side by side into the penultimate corner. Russell forced off the circuit, and then Sainz just slides into the wall. Bit weird, but I'm not sure if this helps us or not. But this is a wacky race. Everyone is boxing because it's a great chance for them to stop.
Yeah, we just
so we might at least gain some positions here.
Yeah.
And then we still need to stop again. But if we can look after our tyres, then we can really push on them after this safety car period. But maybe Gasly and Leclerc are absolutely in the box seat here. Alright, so as we form up behind the safety car and do an insane amount of weaving, where are they going? Like, the most extreme weaving. Kimi Raikkonen could never. So as we form up behind the safety car, here's the order. Gasly's come out ahead of us after stopping and going to a set of hards. Norris and Verstappen are ahead of us as well, but they've also stopped before the safety car. Although, did Verstappen? And Verstappen can't have boxed under the safety car because otherwise he'd be behind Gasly. Leclerc is behind us now on a set of softs. I've no idea what strategy anybody's running. But we're in 4th and Piastri is in 11th. But we do need to stop both cars again. This is going to help us get to our pit stop window and then hopefully maybe go a little bit beyond it. And then we can really push hard towards the end of the race. So let's get this race restarted. Safety car was out an inordinately long time. But we've got fuel, we've got everything we need. Tyres are at a good temperature. We can push and deploy everything. We'll get both drivers driving in clean air as well. And start making some overtakes. I think we'll leave George on medium overtake aggression. We don't need to take such risks with him, especially with such a big championship lead. Even if we finished this race 4th, he'd still have a handsome lead, leaving Holland and heading to Monza. The race is back underway. Lando Norris leads them across the line, and there's no changes in position. But Lando, he'll be into the pit lane soon. He needs to build a gap so that he can come out in as little traffic as possible. And we need to get Oscar Piastri motoring forwards as well. So a relatively tame restart here in Holland. And George Russell needs to get those hard tyres up to temperature because he's got a very sharp looking Red Bull right on his tail. We've got an empty battery for George Russell, and I think we're going to have a P5 for George Russell. We couldn't stay with the lead group, and we have now fallen behind Charles Leclerc. But we can use him as the sort of tow. He can take us along to that lead group, I would hope. Here comes Oscar Piastri trying to pass Esteban Ocon, and he does pass the McLaren, but he's about to head to the pit lane. So for his earlier stop, he lost a position to the McLaren ahead of coming in, but he's just overtaken the McLaren driver on his way into the pit lane. Leclerc has just come out of the pit lane on another set of softs, so that's a brand new set of softs for him. George Russell actually is going to be possibly the odd one out here, not on a set of softs. We'll wait and see what... Well, Gasly's not going to stop again, we know that. He'll inherit the lead, maybe, although he's actually being overtaken by George. What's Lando Norris going to do? Surely he goes into the pit lane this lap. He doesn't. What has Lando Norris gone to? A used set of softs. So this could all go any which way as George Russell enters the pit lane. We need a good stop. It is a good stop. That's good news. Piastri is going to get some DRS. His tyres are getting rather hot. George Russell leaves the pit lane and importantly beats an entire train of cars out of the pit lane, in which sits Charles Leclerc. So the Monegasque has boxed early, come out in a ton of traffic, and has lost a position here to George Russell. The overcut plays to our strengths, and now we can push on. Verstappen will box at some point. I'm sure he's not going to take those. There's no way he takes those mediums to the end. In comes Verstappen then. It is indeed a set of softs that are going on, and George Russell's stuck behind Esteban Ocon. It looks like Verstappen might be the man to win this race. There he is. He's going to be comfortably clear on those softs. Russell moves to P3, which could still become P2 because they've got to catch Gasly. And we are 4.8 seconds behind the Dutchman. We have got a second red flag. What the flip is going on here? This is absolutely insane. Someone at the back of the pack has crashed. It's the two Williams having a get together. They've both done that weird sliding off thing. And we've got a second red flag. That's Sargent and Vesti, which is great because we can just put on a set of softs. I've no idea what the AI will do now because they've probably been using all their softs since the first red flag. Yeah, so we might have played a bit of a blinder here. There's going to be 10 laps to go or so. Piastri's actually got another set of brand new softs to use. This is insane. So we'll just stick them on, I suppose, and go for it. It's soft tyres for Verstappen. Everyone's got red walled tyres on. There are 5 red lights for the third time in this race. And the lights are out. The race is on again. We were already pushing with the fuel. Let's go, everybody. George Russell, is he going around the outside of Verstappen? It's very, very close. Can we snatch it on the inside of this horseshoe banked corner? Oh, I think we can. George Russell into P2 out of basically nowhere. And now he can chase Pierre Gasly, who's looking for his first win for Ferrari. Verstappen's on the same set of soft tyres as he was before, as is Leclerc and Norris. Russell and Gasly on fresher sets than they were using before. Alright, we are a few laps from the end. We are just over a second behind Pierre Gasly. We're just over a second ahead of Verstappen. It's all incredibly tight. Piastri is still in P7. Can't quite make any inroads on Stroll, although he might have a chance here. Is he close enough? Not yet. We've managed to get George Russell into DRS range on Pierre Gasly. 3 laps to go, and now we have a chance to win this race. We've had to use a bit more of our tyre to get here. The Red Bulls are actually floundering a bit on their older tyres. Piastri might finish ahead of both of them. All things considered, that would be an incredible result. But let's look at the fight at the front. George Russell. Can we make this move into the small stadium section? I don't think we're going to be quite close enough. It does move to the inside, but there's no need to send it there. What I'm actually going to do is do a bit of harvest and make sure we've got plenty of battery. George Russell actually takes the lead into turn 1. I wasn't expecting that. But we'll have 1 lap to go. We harvest the battery, then we might be able to resist the Ferrari to the end of this race. We'll have to wait and see. Final lap, George Russell in the lead. Gasly must be absolutely fuming in that Ferrari. But we're just about doing enough. Piastri, attack on your tyres, mate, and deploy. Verstappen and Norris are squabbling over P3. There's battles everywhere on this final lap. It's absolute madness. The tyres are well overheating, but we're just about hanging on. Is Gasly using more tyre? He's not, but he's now outside of a second, and somehow we're going to win this race. This race of absolute carnage, and yet George Russell's going to come through and go to the top step of the podium. Piastri just missing out on a top 5, it would seem. What an absolute carnage fest. But after 2 red flags, a safety car, multiple pit stops, George Russell wins again. He is absolutely unstoppable. We've turned it up to hard. It's given us pure chaos. It's given us wild strategy. And we've still managed to win. And we've got Piastri to P6, which is great for him. A great recovery from 17th on the grid. But what could he have achieved if he'd started in the top 6 or 8? That's kind of on me. But George Russell, the winner in Zandvoort, 7 race wins in a row now. Just incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I think that certainly was the hardest fought race win that we've had so far. Just the pure carnage. And fair play to Ferrari, 2 cars on the podium, but neither of them look particularly happy. They probably feel they should have won this race, but we were there and we took that opportunity. George got the job done at the start of the penultimate lap. So George Russell comes from 4th on the grid to win the Dutch Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri up 11 places. If that's not driver of the day material, I don't know what is. Although driver of the day is basically a given if you start out of position in a top car. Drivers' Championship, the lead is 98 points. He is absolutely on a roll. This is what happens when you've got so much confidence and it's just flowing. Everything seems to go in your favour. And a really important weekend for us at Mercedes. We've opened up a further 10 points in our lead over Red Bull. What's Ferrari's gap to Red Bull? Not a huge amount, still 50-ish points. So, yeah, Ferrari closing on Red Bull. The Constructors' Championship is close. The Drivers' Championship is George Russell, then everybody else. And Piastri's kind of on his own, bless him. I think I need to lie down after that race, so I'm going to go and do that. And while I do that, make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on the video for me. Subscribe for more chaotic F1 Manager content if that's what you enjoy. And make sure you join the Discord as well. I'll see you for the next video. You're the best, fans. Bye for now.